Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Good Monday to you here on the Sports IQ. Larry Smith, producer Tony Guadero, our editor Josh Ewing as well. We usually, people do credits at the end. We do it at the beginning. Make sure we show lots of love to everyone here on the team. What a football weekend. Wow. We'll talk about that coming up. We've got some great guests, by the way, this week. We're talking from insiders from Georgia Tech, South Florida, the Bulls 2-0, starting with back-to-back wins over ranked teams. How about that? Purdue, Texas A&M. I mean, we have got this is the place to be this week, getting ready for this weekend. Huge week coming up ahead. Today is a great show as well. Our veteran sportscaster, Paul Crane, joining us once again on the show. Producer Tony will talk with him in a moment about baseball as we're getting down now to the end of the season. A little Major League Baseball talk. And then a bit later, Trevor Ruland. He is the Notre Dame offensive lineman former lineman who just has a tremendous story. And we will make sure that we pass it along as well. Be sure you stick around for that here later on, about halfway through the show. Let's get with some of our headlines here. The first full Sunday of the NFL season, the best certainly saved for last. The Bills trailing the Ravens by 15 points entering the fourth quarter. Then the fireworks began. Reigning most valuable player Josh Allen leading his team to 3 touchdowns in the quarter. Still needed one final drive to get this team over the top. Buffalo getting the ball back with a bit over a minute left. No timeouts. Allen marching them down the field. Sets up Matt Prater, who joined the team on Thursday, took a red eye from Arizona to join the team. Hadn't he met most of his teammates? The veteran coming in, game-winning 32-yard winning field goal, 41-40 Bills. Allen, a tremendous night, 394 yards, 2 touchdowns, also ran for 2 scores. His counterpart for Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, also a great night, 209 passing yards, 2 scores, rushing for 70 yards, and another touchdown. Derrick Henry, 31 years old. Is this guy a beast or what? 169 yards on just 18 carries, 2 touchdowns, but that crucial fumble that led to one of those touchdowns in the fourth quarter. But still, huge night for 2 teams that we know we are going to see again later on this season. Wow, that was amazing. In New York, Aaron Rodgers showed he still has some juice in the tank. Rodgers throwing for 244 yards and 4 touchdowns, including 2 in a 50-second span in the second half to lead the Steelers to a come-from-behind 34-32 win over his former Jets team. Chris Boswell hit a career-best 60-yard field goal with 1:03 left to give Pittsburgh the win. Justin Fields, a strong day for the Jets, throwing for 218 yards and 1 touchdown through the air and accounting for 2 other TDs with his legs. The Colts did something Sunday they had not done since the Peyton Manning days. Indy, behind former Giants QB Daniel Jones, scored on every possession in their game against the Dolphins on the way to the 33-6 rout. Jones, 272 yards passing, 1 touchdown, also ran for 2 scores. Micah Parsons making his debut in Green Bay. The Packers defense had one of its best efforts in a while. They shut down Detroit 27-13. Parsons only played 30 snaps, the former all-pro linebacker from Dallas in a late preseason trade from the Cowboys. He had 1 sack, a couple of QB pressures. Last year, Green Bay dropped both games to the Lions as they went just 1-5 in the division. Already have equaled that 1-win mark. Other winners in week 1, including the Rams, Niners, Commanders, Cardinals, Jags, Bengals, Raiders, Bucks, and Broncos. And tonight it's the Vikings and the Bears on Monday Night Football. Major League Baseball, busy weekend on the diamond in the Bronx. Aaron Judge made a diving catch and scored the go-ahead as New York beat the division-leading Blue Jays 4-3. Cody Bellinger had a 3-run homer to power the offense. Max Fried went 7 strong for his 16th win of the year. New York now just 2 games behind the Jays. In Arizona, Aroldis Chapman extended his hitless streak to 17 appearances by striking out 4 in the 9th. Alex Cora got his 600th win as Boston's manager as the Red Sox rallied to beat the D-backs 7-4. Boston 3.5 games behind Toronto. The Dodgers snapped a 5-game losing streak and avoided the sweep in Camden Yards. Baltimore rallied in the first 2 games of the series, but LA getting 2 homers from Shohei Ohtani, 1 from Mookie Betts on the way to the 5-2 win over Baltimore. San Diego remains a game behind the Dodgers in the NL West thanks to their 8-1 beatdown of the Rockies on Sunday. Manny Machado hitting his 23rd big fly, 3 RBIs to lead the way. Now, producer Tony has more baseball with our first guest.
Well, thanks so much, Larry. And yeah, we know that yesterday was the first big Sunday of NFL, but you know what? It is also the height of the baseball season. Like September, we got pennant races still happening all over the place. A lot of exciting stuff happening. So we are going to be joined by veteran broadcaster and friend of the show, friend of both of ours. Larry and I know Paul Crane for a long time. We worked together all at CNN. Paul Crane, thank you so much for joining us once again on the Sports IQ.
Tony, always a pleasure, and good to be with you and Larry. And this is what a special time of year for a sports fan. Not just coming off the first NFL Sunday, and it's good to know that we won't have another Sunday without NFL football until February.
Absolutely.
And college football, and of course, playoff action. But baseball, it you know how much it runs through my veins, so it's really a pleasure to talk about it.
Well, let's dive right into where I think is the best race right now, and that's the American League East. 3 teams all separated by just a handful of games, and it's just so very tight. And tell me if I'm wrong on my ideas here, because what I see of those 3 teams is I see the Red Sox are the young team, not quite prime time ready maybe yet, but going to be an interesting factor in the coming years. Could be interesting if they make the playoffs this year. The Yankees have the best offense of the bunch. They can just mash with anybody. And I think the Blue Jays might be the most well-rounded team. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think all that's true. The Red Sox certainly got out over their skis. You remember a little bit when they traded Rafael Devers to the Giants, it kind of had a feel of like they're just kind of looking to the future. And then all of a sudden they got hot and the future became now, and things changed dramatically. And the Yankees, after getting off to that great start, became all of a sudden one of the worst teams, not just slumping. They were one of the worst teams performance-wise in the major leagues for not a week or two, but like 6 or 8. So, and then the Blue Jays got red hot when the Yankees became ice cold, and all of a sudden we are where we are. I think all 3 of the teams are flawed, but I think all of the teams that are going to be making the postseason this year have great flaws. But I do think what I really wish, and we're not getting it, is that these teams all play to each other in the final weeks of the season. The fact that Bud Selig ruined it with all these interleague games that mean nothing. I don't like interleague games at the end of September helping decide this division. So that's the old get off my lawn guy talking. I know I'm old school, but I just don't like it. And I hope we can fix that at some point down the road, whether it's through expansion or not. But you're right. I think you're right on. And it'll be I think all those teams are going to make the postseason unless there's some incredible collapse. So this is really going to be about positioning. And if things don't change, we could see the Yankees and Red Sox open against each other, and that would be highly emotional.
Yeah, that would be quite an interesting, first series. I'm sure Major League Baseball would absolutely love that. But I think you are right. I think, they have to look at something, because I know you've got 5 teams in each division, so you can't just stay in the division, but you should be able, and you can't even just stay in the league, because then there's one team left out of each league, right? That's not playing. But there's got to be a way to make the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season centric with division rivals playing each other, and let them really go at each other to figure out who's the best.
I don't want to go down a different rabbit hole, because I know we're supposed to be talking about other things, but I think it was completely unnecessary. You remember when Bud Selig, one of the first things he did when he became commissioner of Major League Baseball, after being an incredibly influential owner of the Milwaukee Brewers, was he moved the Brewers from the American League to the National League. And then for some unknown reason, well, probably because he allowed and encouraged the steroid use, and then put his head in the sand and tried to pretend he didn't know anything about it. He then, for some unknown reason, having 14 in the American League and 16 in the National League was a problem. I don't know about you. I don't remember that ever being a problem. I don't think anybody noticed. They want their divisions and their teams and everything. So he moved the Houston Astros from the National League to the American League. Again, no reason for that. And I would say, in real time, if you really felt you had to move a team from the National League back to the American League, why wasn't it the Brewers? But I digress. And now, by as you said, when you have 15 in each league, you have now created a situation where you absolutely have to have an interleague game every single day. And we've not blurred the line. We've erased the lines. I would think we've gotten to the point like the NBA and the NFL, you cross over in your conferences and everything. Why do we have 2 MVPs? Why do we have 2 Cy Young? Why don't we just have 1 MVP like those leagues? We don't really have an American League and National League anymore. Why do we have an American League batting champion and National League? There is no difference anymore. They play each other all the time, but that's a whole nother story and does get me worked up.
But yeah, absolutely. And it should. It really, I can remember back in the early 80s when the Orioles were still at their peak and the Brewers had gotten good in those races down, 80 to 83 in the AL East between Milwaukee and Baltimore, and they would always end up playing each other, the last couple of weeks of the season, and that's
the way it should be.
Division races should be, absolutely. So who do you think we are going to see come out of this AL East race? Which team is going to get hot these last weeks and take it?
Well, I would think Toronto certainly put itself in good position, but again, they're flawed at the back end of their bullpen. Will Scherzer be able to hold up? Will Bieber be able to hold up? These are 2 pitchers that I think are going to play a major role for them. But if there's a team that's built to catch them down the stretch, once the Yankees get through the back half of their 12-game stretch against playoff teams, if they survive that and play better than they did throughout the first several months of the season against this high caliber competition, then the Yankees, I think, would be in good shape to win the division. But I think the way baseball has added an extra wild card team now, and we see 7 teams get in, really, the key thing is getting in. It's no longer winning the division. And I think we've seen the last couple of years with the expanded field that winning the division, depending on how your team is, the makeup of your team, may not be the best thing in the world. So not that you're going to try not to win the division, but keep in mind, baseball is a grinding every single day thing. They do this for 6 months. And then the first couple of years of this expanded field, we've seen division winners and number 1 teams struggle to then pick it up after a week off.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the other race that I'm interested in getting your thoughts on, we're going to switch to the other coast in the National League. The Dodgers on July 1st looked like they were just going to run away, hide, and be the cream of the crop. Well, since July 1st, that team is sub 500. And I'm not talking about they're a game under 500. They're multiple games under 500. Do they have anything left to make another postseason run, Paul?
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens when they get there, and it's whether they win the division or not. Again, that's another team that looks like they will be there, and they certainly are veteran and poised, but they too are extremely flawed. I think you look at the NL West, it looked like the Padres had done such a great job, especially at the trade deadline, but it's not like who's going to win that division, who's not going to lose it, because the Padres probably, as we speak, should be several games in front of the Dodgers. But for some reason, they too have gone into a tailspin. So I think the Dodgers were flawed every step of the way, in my opinion. If you remember, they did yes, they won the World Series last year, and you can't take anything away from them. They certainly had as much pressure on them as any team in baseball with the moves that they had made. But let's not forget that they were the first in that series against the Padres in the playoffs last year. They faced elimination and were able to stave that off a couple of times. And even in the first game of the World Series against the Yankees let that get away. And for some reason that I'm still trying to figure out, Aaron Boone went to a starter, Nestor Cortez, in Game 1 to pitch to Freddie Freeman. I guess it was just because some analytic computer thing said lefty against lefty. But how about a player who hadn't been in that kind of a situation on that kind of a stage before? And Freddie Freeman's grand slam changed everything, and who knows what would have happened. But again, I digress. The team is not one of those teams that is going to do what the Yankees of the middle 90s, for example, were like, or the late 90s. That's not what the Dodgers are. Are they good enough to win the World Series again? Absolutely. Are they also flawed to the point where they could get bounced early? Yes, they could.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been really shocked at just how poorly they seem to have played down the stretch. And now they've had some bad luck in certain spots, but they also haven't really played well. And I'm also surprised in the National League. The Brewers were like the Jays got red hot, right? The Brewers surpassed that, became sunspot hot for about 8 weeks of
Right.
this season, right? They've cooled off a little bit, but they still look like they've got enough in that National League to make an interesting deep run come October here.
I think the Brewers, what they've done is they've played just solid baseball. They've played small ball. They've moved runners along. They've had some 2-out hits. They play solid defense, and they pitch well, both in the rotation and at the end. Nothing's popping off the charts to you like wow, this is no. You know what? They just win, and they've been a reminder really all season about what it takes to win baseball games. You don't have a star that makes the kind of difference for you in Major League Baseball as, say, the NBA, for example, where one player can really change things around. If a star or two alone were enough, Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani might have finished even 500 once. They never made the playoffs, so they're a poster children for why just having two superstars aren't enough when it comes to baseball. You've got to do all the little things, move runners along, situational play. And the Brewers have been extremely consistent at that all year. The question about them will be when they get to the bright lights of the postseason, how will they hold up under that kind of a spotlight? Because they've kind of played, it feels like, under the radar for much of the season. That will change dramatically when we get into October.
Yeah, absolutely. The lights get bigger, the lights get shinier, the pressure becomes a little more intense once we hit those October play dates. Are you at all worried about the Phillies or the Tigers when we hit the postseason? I'm a little concerned that the Tigers seem to be running out of gas here at this point of the season. They haven't been challenged in that division. Yeah, Cleveland made a little run to get it to 6 games, but really haven't been challenged at all. And the Phillies, I wonder if they can overcome the loss of Zach Wheeler. I know they're trying with Walker Buehler, but
brutal.
Losing Zach Wheeler is.
Walker Buehler would already be probably still be in Boston if he had a lot left, but you never can tell. No, I think the loss of Zach Wheeler to start a playoff series is a major blow. By picking up Duran from the Twins, the back end of their bullpen looks like it's in great shape. Because when we get to the postseason in Major League Baseball, it's so much different. I think it becomes so dramatically different than when compared to other sports. We touched on how they play every day, and sometimes when you get an extra week off, if it was a football team, you'd be dancing at having the extra week off. But for baseball, the kind of hit the brakes when you've gotten into this routine that's so different. So it's a marathon to get through the season. And when you get to the postseason, you've got these, best 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 7 sprints. Everything's a sprint. So I think the Tigers, I would be less concerned about because Tarek Skubal is at the head of that rotation, and think about the other veteran arms. Will they hold up? But they've got veteran arms in that rotation that I think put them in a pretty good position. But I would be concerned about the Phillies because they certainly are going to need the other guys in the rotation to pick it up, because the loss of Wheeler could be one of the biggest impact losses of any contender in this postseason.
We've got about 60 seconds left. If Paul Crane were going to look into his crystal ball, give me 2 teams that were going to be left standing when we get to that World Series come October.
Well, I do think I have liked the Phillies, like I think you have. We talked at the All-Star break about them.
Yep.
But I think so many teams are flawed. I'm going to say I won't be surprised if the Brewers make it through, but I don't know that I would pick them. So maybe we'll do a repeat of last year, the Dodgers and Yankees. I don't like to bet. I don't like to predict. But if the Yankees don't make it, I would pick the Tigers. But I think the Yankees are built for all of that. But their bullpen has been so bad for so long this season. Even they would, if they got spectacularly better, they'd be awful. So I don't know that that's just a major, major flaw. But the Tigers or Yankees out of the American League, and I just think I think it's going to be a great postseason because we don't have that team. But yeah, I'll go. I wouldn't be shocked if we had a repeat of last year.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that either. And like you said, it really should be a very interesting October. There's going to be a lot of people staying up really late, I think, on the East Coast, waiting for games to end once we hit October.
But again, all that stuff you do with like trying to manage your bullpens during the season, it changes because rarely in the postseason do you play more than 2 days in a row.
Right.
So you can do things in the postseason, even with the bullpen, that you can't do in the regular season. So maybe some of those bullpen issues that popped up for certain teams might change a little bit in the postseason. Then again, they might not.
Absolutely.
But that's why we watch.
That's right. That's why they play the games. Paul Crane, veteran broadcaster, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and joining us here on the Sports IQ. We will be in touch again as we get deeper into this postseason, I'm sure.
Look forward to it, Tony. Thank you as always. And Larry, be good, man.
We'll pass that along. Larry, you heard it. Be good. Let's behave. Let's get things done. All right. Thank you, Paul. We will be right back on Sports IQ after a quick timeout.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Well, the last of the 4 tennis majors wound up on Sunday. Carlos Alcaraz toppling Yannick Sinner 6-2, 3-6, 6-1, 6-4 to complete a near-perfect showing at the U.S. Open, capturing his 6th career Grand Slam in dominating fashion. Alcaraz improved to 10-5 in his career against Sinner and has won 7 of the last 8 matchups between the two Titans, including 3 major finals, finishing this one with an ace on match point. Saturday, by the way, Aryna Sabalenka becoming the first woman to win back-to-back singles titles at the U.S. Open since Serena Williams won 3 in a row back in 2012 to 2014. Sabalenka notching her 100th career Grand Slam victory with her win over Amanda Anisimova. For Sabalenka, it was her first major trophy of 2025 and the 4th of her career. Okay, WNBA. Final week of the regular season. It closes on Thursday. We are done, by the way, with our show on Ion. We appreciate everybody who supported us all during the season. But A'ja Wilson becoming the biggest story. She and the Aces here at season's end. 31 points, 11 rebounds to help Las Vegas beat Chicago 80-66 on Sunday to extend the longest win streak in franchise history. Now 14 games in a row. That ties the 2021 Connecticut Sun for the 4th longest regular season win streak in league history. Vegas now still remains tied with Atlanta for second place in the league. But for Wilson, that's her 13th 30-point game this season. That is a new WNBA record. She breaks the mark set by her current teammate, Jewel Lloyd, when she was with Seattle, and Hall of Famer Maya Moore had the record before, but now it is A'ja there all by herself. Also extends her own personal WNBA record, 11th game with at least 30 points and 10 rebounds as well, and she has that record too. By the way, Angel Reese didn't play for Chicago. The team announcing on Friday that Reese was suspended for the first half of the game for making comments, quote, detrimental to the team. Then at halftime of the game, they announced that the 2-time WNBA All-Star would not play in the second half due to a back injury. Reese, by the way, also missed Friday's loss against Indiana due to getting her 8th technical the game before. 7 is the limit. Once you get 8, you are sat down for a game. Julie Allman had a career-high 21 points. Ray Burrell scored 11 of her 13 in a 16-0 run to open the 4th quarter. The Sparks beating Dallas 91-77 to avoid elimination from playoff contention in this. L.A. now 20-22 on the season has to win its last 2 regular season games and have Seattle lose to Golden State on Tuesday to make the postseason. The Sparks do own the tiebreak 3-1 over Seattle. That's why it's huge. Seattle had a chance to close out on Friday night, but lost in the late game to New York at home. And so again, Seattle, one of those teams that just so much talent there, but cannot be consistent, giving up leads in the second half. So many times they did it against LA last Monday night. They did it again to New York on Friday night, and now they've got to have to beat Golden State to make sure that LA doesn't get in. But again, Los Angeles winning its last two, they had the tiebreak. Natasha Howard, by the way, scoring 17 points. Indiana beating Washington 94-65. They clinch a spot in the WNBA playoffs. The Fever now 23-20. They advance to the postseason for the second straight year, despite losing 5 players, including last year's Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark, to season-ending injuries. So the Fever become the 7th team in. Aaliyah Boston, 12 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Ariel Powers finished with 15 points as well for Indiana. So the WNBA, again, regular season closes coming up here on Thursday night, and then the playoffs begin. Different format this year. Before you weren't always guaranteed a home game, but they've expanded. Best of 3 in the first round. Each team gets at least one home game. Best of 5 in the later rounds, and then the finals will be a best of 7 for the WNBA. So again, lots of basketball coming up. Minnesota, the winningest team. Las Vegas, the hottest team. It's going to be fun to see how this wraps up in the W. Okay, stay here. My conversation with Trevor Ruland, the former Notre Dame offensive lineman, with a fantastic story to tell. That's coming up next.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Want to talk a little more here about some college football. Obviously, Notre Dame, a big conversation, but we've got a conversation about the Irish and college football, but a little more here coming up to us. Very special guest, Trevor Ruland, played offensive line for Notre Dame for back in 2015 to 2019 and joins us now here on the show. Trevor, welcome to Sports IQ.
Thank you guys for having me. Excited to talk with you, talk some ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk first this Notre Dame team. It's funny. It was a year ago after the loss to Northern Illinois at home that, boy, it was doom and gloom, and folks were grabbing the rosary beads, and it was, something else. But what a turnaround now. Thrilled where this program is. And even though, the loss in the opener at Miami, there's a lot of things there to be excited about for this Notre Dame football program.
Yeah, definitely. Last year was interesting, coming off the high of beating A&M, going right into the Northern Illinois game. But to be honest with you, the Miami game, I think I left that game being more impressed with Miami than worried about Notre Dame. Yeah. I was, I'm biased, but I tend to be watching the line play, O-line, D-line, just kind of how I'm wired from years and years of film. But I was very, very impressed with Miami's offense and defensive line. They were physical, and I think it's a good learning tool for our boys here, and taking into the bye week to improve, to play another physical group in A&M.
Yeah. Next week's gonna be this coming Saturday. By the way, it's gonna be a huge number 19 Texas A&M coming in. That game on NBC Saturday night is gonna be a great matchup there. I really think that I agree with you. I'm not into moral victories, but I'm with you. I didn't come away thinking, well, boy, this Notre Dame team's got a lot to work on. I came away saying, hey, Carr performed. The team was right there. This is pretty good.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a moral victory. They lost. They got beat. They got beat up front. So, it still stinks. You want to leave and you want to win, right? You want to go down there and you want to kick butt. I've had some bad experiences in that stadium as well. But, yeah, I thought TJ Carr looked really good. Obviously, he made some silly mistakes, but something that caught my eye here and beyond the X's and O's is immediately after that last play of the game, after that sack, and they weren't able to get off another snap, you saw all the guys come over to him immediately. Like, they didn't even get the TV broadcast wasn't even able to get a shot of him by himself, because everybody just kind of huddled around him, tapping him on the head, tapping him on the ass, probably being like, hey man, we're good, back to the drawing board, we're good. So that was the kind of stuff that I noticed, where you could tell that they believe in him. It's a brotherhood. And if they're behind him, I think as fans and as fellow players, we should all be behind him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk with you a little bit about your own story coming out and developed an eating disorder. Kind of talk to us through about kind of what happened and how this got started.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, you guys reached out based on that article, and I wanted to shed light on it because it is something that's rarely talked about, right? Everybody knows stories of people with physical injuries after and dealing with that. And sure, I've had plenty, right? I just got my knee replaced last year as a 27-year-old.
Jeez.
But yeah, nobody really talks about like the mental stuff, right? Like leaving football without a goal or a passion, or like leaving that locker room and that brotherhood. It's really tough. And the weight thing, the eating disorder develops because my whole life I went into college weighing probably close to 270, and I needed to be 300 plus pounds to be able to play. I played next to some of the most successful offensive linemen there at O-line U, next to Quentin Nelson, Mike McGlinchey. So I had to get big. So it was all about eating the right thing, lifting weights, moving things heavy. Everything was all about that. And, I could get on here and I could chuckle about it now that I'm healing and in a much better spot. But, you're force feeding. Like you'd leave training table after eating steak and lobster and potatoes and veggies and stuff. And you go pick up a pizza or Chipotle, or that would be your 10 o'clock snack. And it's like, I look back on that and be like, oh, if like only you could do that now and, not balloon up. But I always wanted to leave football and not be the guy who is like, hey, you used to play, right? And I'd be like, yeah. And they're like, what position? I'd be like, O-line. They're like, oh, yeah, I could tell. Right. So that was never kind of my mindset. I always wanted to lose weight. And right away when I left college, it fell off without all that force eating. I dropped 50 pounds real quick. Then I started working out a lot more, started going on runs, lost more weight, changed up my diet, started, fasting, lost more weight. And I was at a good spot, man. I had abs, I had bicep veins, things I never thought I would ever have. But it consumed me. It was something I could control. The number on the scale was something I fixated on all the time. I woke up every morning, I jumped on the scale, and I would be disheartened if I didn't lose, half a pound overnight or whatever it was. It really, really ate at me. It changed me mentally, changed me physically, made me a shell of who I was. And I just think it really happened because I fixated on things I could control. And, when I left the football field, that was something that I looked at as a competition, was trying to get that number as low as possible. And I'm happy today that I'm in a much better spot, but it really consumed my life for a couple of years.
I've heard of that before of other players, not quite to that degree, but being fixated on losing. I know there was one college player on the Division III level, I believe, that I interviewed for the day job, and he literally lost like 60 pounds over 8 months after his career ended.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a dramatic loss. I mean, now he looked great. He wasn't as chiseled as some of the pictures I've seen of you. But again, I just thought, wow, that seems extreme.
Yeah. Like I said, it fell off right away. And I know people either go one or two directions. They either balloon up or they lose that weight. So I was focused on that a large part of my life. And I left college. My last game against Iowa State in the bowl game, I was probably around 305, maybe a little bit heavier after a night of celebrating, right?
Yeah.
But so let's say 305 pounds. At my lowest, I was probably down to, when I was at my sickest and weakest, I was probably around 150 pounds. So I literally lost half of my body. But hey, I appreciate those nice words too. I'm at like 185, 190 now, and I feel great. Obviously, I still have my physical bumps and bruises, but mentally doing a much better job, with my diet and working out to feel good and not working out to lose weight, right?
Right. Yeah. When did you realize that you had an issue, when you hit rock bottom? Like what was the turning point for you?
Yeah, it's ironic, that the story that I tell is I'm going to actually pick up my wife from the airport right now as we speak. And the lowest point was her and I used to live down in Dallas, and we were flying back up here to see family for a family party. And I couldn't carry my backpack in the airport. You know how like the man's supposed to like be able to lift up the suitcase and put it in the overhead bin.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that for her. And it crushed. Like I get emotional telling the story, but it crushed me. It was. I know nobody there was on the airplane was really looking at me, and if they were, whatever. But it ate at me. It was like, how could I do this? How could I be treating people like this? The woman I love more than anything. How could I have her carry my bag? Right. I was rude. I was short tempered. I couldn't laugh at parties. Like usually I'm an easygoing, fun loving kind of guy. Right. And obviously personalities change over time, but I was mean. I was mean to my in-laws. I was mean to my parents. But on that airplane trip, I was like, what are we doing here? And I remember just sitting on the edge of the bed after that family party I was referencing and just like being befuddled, like, why this isn't worth it. Right. And that's when it was the first step. Like I admitted I had a problem. Right. And there was many steps after that, but that was the first step of healing.
Yeah. And then, so where do you go from there? Because like you said, this is not something that's common. I mean, though I just referenced another situation, but this isn't common among athletes, especially like you said, linemen. Usually, I mean, you guys are big guys, right? And it's a macho thing. We guys don't like to admit, hey, I've got an issue, I have a situation. So it's not like there are a lot of resources there. So where did you go from there once you realized it's a problem and you need some help?
There is no like actually defined steps, right? So I think once I admitted there was a problem, like my people around me knew there was something wrong, right? And it wasn't like they weren't calling it out, right? They were, but my parents, my siblings, my younger siblings, and my wife really were the ones there to help me and guide me. And it really just started with trying to fix my mindset. Like, why are you restricting yourself so much? Like, why are you only drinking beer on Saturday? That's a bad example because that's probably a good habit to have. But like, why are you not eating till 2 p.m. every day and then only eating a little bit? Like, hey, you're having a protein shake and then a salad for dinner. Like, you're a big guy. You need to eat way more than that. So I think just like calling awareness to me, and everybody responds differently. So I don't think there's a true playbook, but they were on my ass, especially my mom. Like they called it out. They were, I was being selfish and they called it out. They're like, you're hurting people around you. And something that they did for me, and I still have these today, is my siblings, my wife and my sister-in-law, they all wrote me notes and they handed them to me about like what it was like basically losing me as someone in their life. And they handed it to me like after a weekend we all spent together for a birthday party, and I couldn't read them, right? Like I knew what they were about. I remember my brother gave me a hug when I left for the weekend, and he just handed them to me and he said, take your time. And I couldn't read them. I kept them in my car. And I remember coming back from work one day and finally I cracked them open and, sat in my car and cried reading those notes. But really I couldn't be helped until I wanted to help myself. And all of those were kind of things that I used to fuel my fight and fuel my fire to get better.
Yeah. As you said at the beginning, that now you're great, you're healthy, everything is good.
Yeah.
What message do you want to give to other athletes and you've been in this space? Look, you've got to be competitive. You've got to have a chip on your shoulder. I mean, you've got to, all those things have to happen to be successful at that level. And sometimes it does drive you to extremes. What message do you have for other athletes who, or anybody who may be going through a situation right now and realize that they need some help?
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from all of this is like trying to find the right balance. And I'm not perfect. Nobody is, especially with all the good food and all the good drink we have all around us, right? But it really is about trying to enjoy little moments when they come up. Yes, it's important to have a good diet and a good workout routine, but you got to be able to find something that's sustainable, something that you enjoy, and then also be able to enjoy time with your friends. Like I lost over 2 years of spending good time with my friends, I almost lost all those friendships as well because I wasn't fun to be around, right? But, first of all, like I was saying, long-winded answers, I know, so I apologize. But
No, you're good.
finding the right balance is critical. But then it's okay to admit there's something wrong, and it happens, right? Like, hey, I'm not like a big, mental disease guy. Like I don't know much about it. Like I was always taught like, hey, fight through it. Like work harder, right? There's only one answer, work harder. But really when you have something wrong, it's okay to come out of your masculine shell and talk to someone you care about. You don't need to go posting it online. Like, hey, I need help. I need resources. You don't need to broadcast it. But every single person has someone that cares about them and loves them. For me, I leaned on my support staff, my support system, and I worked with them. I wasn't like super vulnerable and open at first, but the more and more I got comfortable with it, and now I'm doing podcasts and radio about it, right? So it's okay to admit there's something wrong and when you need help. And I would say that's another the two biggest takeaways for me.
Yeah. Well, no more football for you. What are you doing now? How is life? It sounds like you're married and happy and working.
Yeah. We live in downtown Chicago, so we're both from the Chicago suburbs. We live in downtown Chicago, beautiful apartment. Got a great puppy. Looking at buying a home and starting a family here soon. Obviously, still following football, but got all the family all around me here in the suburbs. Got a good job. Wife's got a good job. We got married about last May. We got married, so about a year and a half-ish or so. Okay. So things are great. Living the American dream, as I chuckle, right? But no, things are really good. I'm very, very blessed, very fortunate that I was able to get out of this and enjoy the good that I have going on.
Yeah, well, and we know that your story is going to impact so many people, and we appreciate you being open about it, being vulnerable. That's not always easy. And we also share in the joy that you got through this, and you and your wife have this great future. Looking forward to all the things of life that a young man in his 20s should, even though you have a fake knee. That's just part of it. That's okay. So,
hey, I got the fake knee, but about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago now, obviously there's not much more running going on in my life, but I was able to walk a marathon.
Hey, there we go. Awesome.
And the physical toll, my feet were sore after and I was exhausted, but the biggest thing is I was so bored. It took me 8.5 hours to complete.
Yeah.
And then another side note here is, in October, my wife and I are signed up for the Chicago Marathon, and I don't know how this is going to go on the record, but I think we're going to split it. So I think she's going to take the first half and then pass the bib to me. And I'll take the second half because neither of us are very, very good runners. And we got to get it done in 6.5 hours for it to count. So that's our goal.
Okay. Awesome. Well, listen, you said it's in October. That's next month.
Yeah, that's next month. We've been training for it, and that's what we'll do this afternoon is we'll go on a little jog, walk, run with the dog.
That's awesome. That's all. Well, listen, please come back and tell us. Keep us posted on how that goes, and we'll talk some more college football when we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I know my Irish will be on a nice win streak by then.
There you go. That's right. Trevor, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And again, enjoy this big game this weekend against the Yankees.
Hey, appreciate your time, guys. Thanks for letting me get the message out.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Trevor Ruland joining us here on the Sports IQ again, former Notre Dame lineman, dealt with an eating disorder after his playing career. And we appreciate Trevor being on. We do want to point out, by the way, that if you are someone or you know someone who's in distress, there's a 24/7 hotline you can call, 988. There's always help and assistance and counselors to talk with you if you need that. So again, love meeting Trevor and love hearing his story. And hopefully you can get that message out to anyone who needs to hear it. Okay. It's a Sports IQ. We've got more to come. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back. AP and the coaches polls both out yesterday. How about the AP Three Big Ten teams, one SEC team in the top 5. SEC folks are not going to like that. But folks, listen, NIL's kind of changed the deal here. Now, it's early. It's only, 2 weeks in, a lot of football to play. But right now, Ohio State does look really good. Penn State does too. Oregon, boy, Mike Gundy, all the complaining, I'm a man. Remember that comment years ago to a reporter? Well, he made the comments earlier about, gee, it's not fair that Oregon spends more money than we do. Well, Oregon went out and slapped him around with a lot of $100 bills, wet $100 bills. It was like 69-3 or something. It was embarrassing. I did a double take. Wait. They beat who? Oklahoma State? Not some FCS team. Oklahoma State. They beat them. So Mike Gundy, yes, go. Don't go play them again. Be careful the bulletin board material, producer Tony. He kind of he stepped in it and they made sure he didn't get away.
He gave him a little bit too much bulletin board material, and boy, were they impressive. They looked really good. And how about Nick Saban, over the weekend coming out with a comment saying, hey, this new NIL deal and the Big Ten people coming up with a lot of money. They got, their schools have bigger pockets than we do. So the advantage has shifted, to the Big Ten in this new NIL era.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I buy that it's just a money reason. I think it's a lot of things. I think it's coaching. I think it's recruiting. I think it's hiring really good coordinators and having really deep staffs. Look, you and I have talked a number of times where coaching makes college football. You can have all the talent you want in the world. If it's not being coached, it's not going to win.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, you've got to have good coordinators. Look at Clemson. They lost both coordinators from those championship teams, and it took them some time to rebuild. They were still winning 10 games a year, but they weren't at the 13-14 win, reaching the championship game kind of thing for a few years while they reset themselves. You're exactly right. Hey, speaking of the big shockers and great coaching, South Florida, give it up. They now have a chance to become, I think I saw, only the 5th team in the poll era to start the year with 3 consecutive wins over ranked teams. They beat Boise State pretty good in the opener, and then Saturday night in Gainesville took down Florida.
Yeah, that is not what Billy Napier needed. That is for sure. I mean, his schedule is brutal enough. Now, I'm not saying if Florida State or that South Florida is a pushover, but that's a game you got to win if you're Billy Napier. You cannot lose that game, and especially in the fashion that they did. That is just now you've got to run the gauntlet again, almost like last year when you had to win, your last 3 or 4 games to get over 500 and get in a bowl game and all that kind of stuff. And they did it and looked good doing it. So you kind of set some high expectations. And now I'm sure there are people in Florida going, oh, geez, here we go again. Maybe we're not as good as we thought we were, and that's just not one. And, kudos to the young Grammatica kind of following in dad's footsteps and, being a kicker who wants to make the kick in a pressure situation. He came through, perfectly in that ball game.
Yeah, that was huge. On the road, a hostile environment, big time. And South Florida not only gets the win, but they take home a $500,000 check to come and beat you in the swamp. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. A couple of big losers on Saturday, SMU and Arizona State. And like you were saying, I'll take the words out of your mouth in our conversation. You can't overlook anybody right now. If it's another Power 4 team or a team that's got some good coaching behind them, anything's possible.
Yeah, I mean, now the good news for those teams is with the expanded playoffs, your season isn't over because look, let's face it, if we still had 4 teams and you're an SMU or an Arizona State, the chances of you getting picked for one of those 4 spots, if you have a loss on your record, are pretty slim unless you were able to run the entire table. Now you're setting yourself up from week 2 as going, okay, can't lose again. Got to run it all the way through, got to win our conference title game. Then we got a shot of getting into the playoff. But with this new expanded playoffs, you don't. That would certainly help if you did.
Yeah.
But it's not a must.
Yeah. Great drama Saturday night too in Norman. Oklahoma was then number 18, beating Michigan, then number 15. Oklahoma looks really good. John Mateer's the real deal. Great story there. They're turning things around in Norman. going through the transfer portal. Michigan, look, first national for us this around the country, our first look at the true freshman Bryce Underwood at quarterback. This kid's a player.
Yeah, he is the real deal. The kid is a stud. He was composed. Yeah, there was that little bit of issue over there on the sideline between him and the running back, Justice, but I still think, they're going to go as far as Bryce can take them this year. The defense still looks to be a work in progress. And what about the SEC? Now you add Oklahoma into the other big names we've already talked about, the Georgia, the Tennessee, the Texas. Now you add in Oklahoma. The gauntlet becomes bigger and bigger for some of these teams to run. And when I was checking this morning, I think 11 of the top 25 are SEC teams right now.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. One other thought, too, Illinois over Duke, 45-19. It was a 14-13 game at the half. That Darian Mensah kid, transfer from Tulane, $4 million quarterback for Duke, looked great in the first half. But, boy, Illinois made those halftime adjustments, came out, 5 turnovers, forced 4 of them they forced. One was kind of given to them on the punt. But Illinois, Brett Bielema, they're 2-0. They got Western Michigan this week. Then they got Indiana. They've got USC still, Ohio State. So nothing easy for them. But Brett Bielema, it's a different team in Illinois, a program that does not enjoy much success. They've only had 2 head coaches ever lead them to back-to-back 8-win seasons, and they were already 2-0 here after an impressive win on the national scene. They jumped up to 9, by the way, in the AP and the coaches' polls. Okay, our moment of awe is up next. Time now for a moment of awe. And Luke Lindenmeyer has 8 catches so far this year for Nebraska, but his biggest catch happened Saturday night. Scored his first touchdown in the rout over Akron, but the bigger story was later. He proposed to his girlfriend on the field, and she said yes. Nice job. She's a member of the dance team, said he saw her on the field last year, got a chance to meet her in church, and the rest is history. Big deal to have his teammates there and, of course, get the win and get the big win in life as well. Luke, nice job, young man. Truly a moment of awe. Hey, I appreciate Paul Crane and Trevor Rulin stopping by, and you as well. We're 1 down. It's a Monday. Make it a great day. We'll see you tomorrow here on the Sports IQ.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.